Fat. Comix Fat.
Last night at the Academy Awards, it all went pretty much as expected, but there are a few surprises, some big ones for the major categories, and I think overall it went pretty well. So let's go ahead and jump into what I think was the biggest surprise of the night, the biggest award as well, Best Picture. Now, a lot of people, including myself, kind of were leaning towards 1917 being the winner for Best Picture. Sam Mendes' World War One film. It had this great, ambitious, one take, one shot kind of approach to it that it pulled off pretty well. And I mean, it added to how great this movie was. And just like a lot of war movies, they definitely come off as being front runners for these kind of big awards, such as Big Picture. Sam Mendes, a great director, and I thought this movie was going to be the winner as it was the front runner. But personally, I was kind of hoping, sort of like my long shot, that Joker was going to win because, again, it was my favorite movie of the year. It was such a great movie, and I think it did for comic book films what The Dark Knight did over a decade ago in terms of bringing comic book films into the mainstream consciousness, that they could be more than just this big CGI, set piece heavy action film that's about saving the world or saving the universe and so on. And I think it did that. It brought it down to earth and made it a movie about just an everyday sort of kind of person pushed and sent off the edge where, you know, he becomes the villain, the Joker. But sadly, that didn't happen. Joker did not win. Sorry, Todd Phillips. Sorry, DC and Warner Brothers. But the winner and the big surprise was Parasite. Parasite won Best Picture, which becomes the first foreign film to do so. And Bong Joon becomes probably the biggest name in Hollywood going forward for the time being in terms of directors who they want to snatch up. Coincidentally, he also won Best Director, Best International Foreign Film. So he's hot right now. Is the biggest name again. He's going to expect a lot of offers to come his way, and now he gets to basically have the pick of the litter. Now he gets to choose what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do. And I mean, he has a pretty good track record of movies. If you watch his previous movies, he's a really good director, and he has a really good vision for what he wants to do. And he was the winner. He beat out Ford v Ferrari, Joker, 1917, and Netflix's Marriage Story. All those great films. So he pretty much got his a well-deserved win, a big surprise. Definitely knocked off 1917, which was considered the front runner in this category. So now that we've got past that, great win, great night for Parasite and Bong Joon-ho. Best Actor and Actress categories. Now, I think this was sort of in terms of who won, and for the female, for the Best Actress, it was as expected. It was sort of the safe bet that Renee Zellweger was going to win. She did her portrayal of Judy Garland in the movie Judy. And that I sort of knew that was sort of like the safe safe choice, because there was really nothing special, I don't think, about it. You know, and playing in a biopic about somebody historic definitely is something that we've seen lead to Academy Award wins, at the very least nominations. So I think this was a safe bet. I think the Academy didn't really want to go for something too drastic here. Personally, I would have rather seen either Scarlett Johansson for her work in Marriage Story, which I think she was great, or Charlize Theron for Bombshell. I think it should have been either one of those that won, but of course the Academy went safe here and went with Renee Zellweger's biopic. Best Actor, I think this was one that we saw coming from long ago. Joaquin Phoenix, Joker, becomes the first comic book film to have a Best Actor winner. We remember over a decade ago that Heath Ledger posthumously won the Best Supporting Actor for the same role, or for the same character, for Joker in The Dark Knight. And now we see this win for Best Actor and in the lead role. I think it's great. You know, this is a big win for comic book movies overall. Again, it pushes these kind of films into the mainstream even more now that we've seen, you know, these comic book films be nominated for Best Picture. We've seen them nominated for Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Adapted Screenplay, and so on. I think now we can see that we can make comic book films that the mainstream audience and even the old school critics, old school like Academy Award voters can see as being, you know, part of cinema, as Martin Scorsese says. You know, this is cinema. These are movies that aren't just theme park amusement rides. You know, these aren't just events. These are actually films that you could sit down and watch and critique in a technical way, and you know, for the most part, they'll be fun or thought-provoking, social commentaries, and so on. You know, these are just deeper films as you know, the genre evolves and moves forward. And I think Joaquin Phoenix winning this award definitely does that for comic book films. So it further legitimizes it. And moving forward, again, I would not be surprised to see more comic book films have these major category nominations. And again, well-deserved. Joaquin Phoenix, great in his role as the Joker. And, you know, moving forward, let's see more of this, all right? Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress. Now, Brad Pitt won for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I really have no beef there. He was great in it. Would have been nice to see maybe Al Pacino win. I think he probably was, if not on par with Brad Pitt, maybe you know, maybe somebody I would rather have seen win it. I mean, he's probably one of my favorite actors. But Brad Pitt winning, that's fine with me. He was really great in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Had a pretty good speech afterward, though a little political, but that's fine. Brad Pitt, he wins. And on the other side, supporting actress, Laura Dern. I guess, you know, that there's a win for Netflix to have Laura Dern win for Marriage Story. But I think, again, here, I was kind of leaning towards Margot Robbie and maybe even Scarlett Johansson. I know Scarlett Johansson, she got nominated twice for lead actress and supporting actress. Would have been really cool to see a double win here for her. But, you know, and Jojo Rabbit, wasn't really that big a fan of the film. Not really that big fan of Taika Waititi, but Scarlett Johansson, I thought she was great in it. She was marvelous. She definitely worthy of this nomination. And but Laura Dern got it, and you know, the one she was with in Marriage Story. But you know, that's the way it goes. Laura Dern won it. She's I guess you could say a legacy. Her father, Bruce Dern, was an Academy Award winner as well. So there's that. So now we're gonna go to Best Director, which I mentioned earlier. Bong Joon-ho won for Parasite. I think that was a pretty good win for him. Big night for Parasite and that Korean film and director. Again, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen that movie, if you haven't seen Parasite, you should definitely watch it. It is a great film. It's a foreign film. It's going to have subtitles, but it's so good that while you watch it, you get into it, and before you know it, you don't even recognize that you're reading the subtitles and still able to watch the whole film. I know a lot of people kind of complain about subtitle films, but hey, if you can't learn that other language, then, you know, read the subtitles. It's fine. And again, when the movie's that good, you just get so enveloped into the film that you don't even notice that you're able to read all the subtitles and watch it, and it's not that big of a deal. It's that good of a movie. And a lot of foreign films, like last year's Roma, was it last year or the year before? Off the top of my head, can't remember, but Roma was the same way. And somebody who can read, speak Spanish, obviously it's not that big of a deal, but for other people who probably had a big deal with like Roma, that was a great movie as well, where you were able to read the subtitles and still be able to follow the movie and be so into it that you don't even notice you're reading the subtitles. So it's not that big of a deal, I do not think, and it really shouldn't be if it's that great of a movie. So Bong Joon-ho wins this category. I was actually hoping for Todd Phillips. Again, maybe I'm just a big Joker homer because when I watched it and I put my review out, I called that, Joaquin Phoenix, that he was going to win the Best Actor award and that Todd Phillips was going to be nominated. I was hoping he'd win. Though I, just like the Best Picture category, I was expecting Sam Mendes to win for 1917. That was just a great movie. Again, these movies, you got to watch these movies and you'll see the hype behind them. You'll see why these were nominated, and even a casual moviegoer could understand and watch these films and say, wow, this was a great movie. Now I see what the hype is about. Now I see what everybody's talking about it. And I know a lot of these films are going to be re-released in theaters, because of this Oscar buzz and so on. So, expect to see them in theaters. And if you get the chance, go ahead, check them out because it's worth it. These movies are that great. Now, Best Animated Film. This is one that generally is Disney has a monopoly on, whether it's Disney itself or Pixar. And this year, despite the snub for Frozen 2, which I thought was a pretty good movie, definitely one of the best animated films of the year last year, it wasn't nominated. But this one went to Toy Story 4, which, again, Disney Pixar is usually the favorite because they have the monopoly. They're so far ahead, in light years ahead in animation compared to everybody else. It beat out what I think was probably one of the best animated films, if not the best animated film. Netflix's Claws. If you haven't seen that movie, it's pretty much a deconstruction, a deeper view on an alternate take on Santa Claus and how the Santa Claus legend or myth came to be. It's pretty funny. It's pretty cute. Really charming movie, family film. It's really good. I loved it. And at the end, you're thinking, wow, that's pretty good. That's a good take on the whole Santa Claus legend, I guess. I wasn't sure about the other movies like Missing Link or How to Train Your Dragon. I haven't seen How to Train Your Dragon. That whole franchise is something I tried watching the first one and really didn't get that into it. Missing Link, I saw that one with my kids, and it's one of these where it's hard to imagine how Frozen 2 didn't get nominated when it really kind of was a weak year for animated films. So that's pretty much how it goes. So overall, the Academy Awards last night, again, for the most part, as expected, some surprises went over it. Big night for Bong Joon-ho and Parasite. Kind of a disappointing night for The Irishman with all those nominations and really didn't get anything. Joker, again, got 2 wins for Best Actor and Best Original Score, so that was pretty good. Disney had 3 wins itself, so it was a pretty decent night. And now we're looking forward to this coming year, this 2020, seeing what's going to be the ones that we watch that we think, wow, this is great. This is going to be nominated. So a lot of good films coming out this year, and we'll see what gets nominated next February. So do you guys think Academy Awards, do you think all the awards went to the movies you thought it would? Any snubs? Let me know in the comments down below. and I'll see you guys.
Comix Fat. Comix Fat.